I'm here to tell you about police violence or police misconduct towards Romani people in Europe. I don't just mean the extreme violence. I don't mean the beatings, the tear gassing, the torture, the shooting, the killings. I want to explain to you a much deeper institutional racism which has long existed in European law enforcement. It denies Romani people a fair investigation when crimes are committed against them. It means Roma are arbitrarily stopped by the police based on a profile based on the color of their skin, the language which they speak, or perhaps the clothes which they wear. It means that when a Romani man, Stanislav Tomasz, was arrested, brutalized in the street, and died after police intervention, the Prime Minister at the time could stand up in the Chamber of Deputies and publicly thank the officers for their good work. A more recent example can be seen in the Greek Minister of Civil Protection, who has recently unconditionally released the 7 police officers who on the 27th of October executed an 18-year-old Romani man by firing some 30 to 40 shots at him and his teenage companions, aged 16 and 14. These 2 Romani men, Stanislav Tomasz and Nikos Sabanis, are only the most recent and the most public cases of extreme police misconduct against Romani people in Europe. My organization is a human rights litigation center. We are representing the family of Stanislav Tomasz in the Czech Republic. We are supporting the lawyers of the family of Nikos Sabanis in Greece. We generally sue public bodies in Europe for violating the human rights of Romani people. We litigate against all kinds of issues, but I can tell you that out of the roughly 150 active cases we have at the moment, just under 50% of them concern police brutality or ethnic profiling of Romani people. It's not an exaggeration to say we receive reports of police misconduct against Roma almost every week, I would say. It is without a doubt one of the most common and most visible manifestations of anti-Gypsyism in Europe today. At the more severe end, these incidents result in deaths in police custody. This could be through beating, asphyxiation, sometimes shooting, but also negligence. We have cases of leaving someone with a known health condition in their cell without treatment, or prisons leaving lethal quantities of methadone for a prisoner who is a suicide risk to self-administer. We don't live in the United States, so thankfully death by police officer is not as common for Roma as it is for Black Americans, but it's certainly not uncommon either. We receive reports of torture in police custody with alarming regularity. This could be someone being beaten in the back of a police car in a police station. It could be someone being taken to a field and a loaded gun pressed to their head. In Romania, we've had cases where the soles of someone's feet are whipped, cases where a plastic bag is put over someone's head. The most common torture we would receive, the reports would be beating with racial abuse or psychological torture. Most often this will be something like threats to have your children removed by social services, for example. At the less severe end of the scale, it's common police brutality in the streets, in raids on Romani communities, in the neighborhoods of Romani people. This is the common violence which we most often litigate. And then on top of that, you get the misconduct which probably every person who comes from a racialized minority will understand: ethnic profiling and harassment. This is so common that I can't really give you any useful estimate or analogy because, as Michael O'Flaherty said, simply people do not report it. If you want to see the scale of the problem, I've made you a map. It's a Google map of police misconduct against Roma, Sinti, and travelers in Europe. It's created collaboratively with myself and several other Romani activists to document the violence that is done to our communities. I can send you the link after I finished. To anyone who is still blind to the systemic nature of police misconduct, who are insistent on seeing the tragedies like the death of Stanislav Tomasz or Nikos Sabanis as one-offs, I invite you to look at this map. You will see that the vast majority of cases of police violence involve groups of police officers rather than individual police officers as perpetrators. You'll see that around a quarter of recorded cases involve more than one police force taking part. It is quite clear to anyone who pays attention these are not a series of one-offs. It's not 1 or 2 bad apples who commit these crimes. It is a widespread culture within law enforcement of systemic misconduct. It involves multiple officers, multiple police forces across multiple European countries. So what is the solution? I can tell you it's not sustainable that civil society should sue every single government and police force in Europe. I will paraphrase the Green MEP Romeo Franz in saying, we need a law. There is no legal mechanism by which the European Union can currently hold member states to account for systemic racially biased police misconduct. The Racial Equality Directive remains the only mechanism by which member states can be held accountable for violating rights of Romani citizens, but even the Fundamental Rights Agency has described this mechanism as not effective when it comes to protecting the rights of Roma. In any case, this directive currently does not cover policing in its scope. In the recent consultation on the Racial Equality Directive, the Commission elected not to expand its scope to include ethnic profiling, as had been recently hinted at. This was a political choice, probably faced with the knowledge that member states would not agree to it. Well, cases like those I've mentioned in the Czech Republic and Greece, this is the other side of that decision. This is the ugly reality of police violence against Roma in Europe, which the EU is either unwilling or unable to sanction through its own mechanism. At the moment, with rising anti-Roma rhetoric across our union, with increased police misconduct since the COVID-19 emergency measures, now more than ever, we need a strong anti-racist stance from EU institutions regarding police brutality. Not capacity trainings, not conferences, not action plans, but a condemnation of specific instances of discriminatory conduct by law enforcement, backed up by a legislative change to allow states to be held accountable for systemic discrimination. By ignoring these human rights violations, those who allow the systemic discrimination to continue are only emboldened, safe in the knowledge that no sanctions will come from Brussels. Thank you very much for your time.